As I stated at the beginning of the council today, I am and remain committed to being the collaborator in chief during this newer budget process. I appreciate the members of the City Council who are working hard and partnering with me and my team to secure a balanced budget that works for all of Chicago. At its core, we must ensure that our budget has progressive revenue sources, and we must uphold our obligations to pensioners, workers, and the people of Chicago. Our budget is proof of our values, and I will negotiate the details of this budget, but I will not negotiate my values. And too many past budgets have left the people of Chicago behind, and I'm determined to chart a new course. I look forward to continuing engagement with City Council to pass a balanced budget that express our values and investing in people. And with that, I'm happy to take your questions.
Everyone, for the sake of time, one question, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon.
As you negotiate the future of this budget, I know that you said in your address a few weeks ago that you don't want to cut vital city services. How are you approaching the prospect of potential expenditure cuts while ensuring that?
Well, first of all, thank you for that question. We've already made expenditure cuts. In fact, last year we saved the taxpayers for this year's budget $200 million. There's a $300 million savings. Look, it's very clear that our revenue and our expenses are out of whack. That's why we are committed to fighting for progressive revenue. Look, it's not just me and the City Council. No one in the City of Chicago wanted us to cut services. No, I don't hear anyone say, you know, Mayor Johnson, I don't know, the alders certainly don't have phone calls where people are saying, please cut services. We need less services in Chicago. No one is crying for that. And so that's why my budget process and this new collaborative approach that the people of Chicago are getting a nice taste of, we cannot afford to go backwards and cut services to people of Chicago who rely upon them.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
Do you expect there to still be some property tax increase in your budget? And if so, what numbers are you looking at?
Yeah, well, look, here's what's most important here. There's structural damage that has been made to our budget over the course of just decades of not paying enough into our pension system. We have put forth a vision where we respond to the structural damage, we don't cut services, and we're investing in people. And that's what people want. People want to make sure that we continue to see this trend of a decline in violence in the city of Chicago. Homicides are down, shootings are down. As we put 200 more detectives on payroll here in Chicago, those are great investments that people understand that they rely upon. But we also have to make sure that if we're going to invest more in the future, we have to address the structural damage that needs desperate repair. This collaborative approach with my finance and budget team, with budgeteers and all of the alders that are willingly participating in this new process, I know that they're committed to making sure that our working families are certainly protected, but we're also making sure we're speaking to the future of responding to the debt and the deficit that unfortunately we just didn't do enough in the past. We didn't see that from previous administrations.
Mayor, what is your response to Attorney General Raoul and his letter that he has grave concerns that some of the proposed cuts in CPD would threaten progress on the consent decree?
Well, look, I'm very much, if there's anyone who remains committed to making sure that we have constitutional policing, it's certainly me and the folks who are standing alongside of me. It's why we made a commitment to hire more detectives. That's, you know, part of making sure the consent decree is materialized and realized. Solving crime is important. We're already seeing an increase in solving crime. I believe you can almost quote me on this. I think it's 48% of homicides or violent crime has been solved in the city in this last year. So we're seeing a trend that's the highest violent crime solvency that we've seen since 2015, I believe. So we're going to continue to have a conversation about the services that are vital to ensure that the constitutional policing continues to become realized through the consent decree.
Mayor, you said the $300 million was a proposal, and that's just what it was. What about, let's talk about the 50-0 vote, that vehement response to it. Can you comment on that, please?
Yes, so there's a legislative process where a proposal was made, and the legislative branch has the ability to vote yes or a no for something. This is not the complete dynamic, right? There's an entire portion of this entire process that's still critical in this moment. We're not cutting services. We've made that very clear. We have found efficiencies, but we've also made critical investments to youth employment. You know, I know there are some folks who may not see the value of as many young people that we're trying to hire, but I can tell you, Alder Jesse Fuentes certainly understands, you know, why we can't give up on young people. Same thing with behavioral and mental health. We are expanding those services across the city. The first mayor since Mayor Harry Washington not to reduce public services as it relates to mental and behavioral health. We're building more affordable homes, 3,400, building more. You may have saw earlier today on the west side of Chicago, the leadership of Chairman Irvin, where there's more investments in our community colleges, a new campus on the west side of Chicago that's going to continue to develop the next workforce, particularly in healthcare. So all of this is coming together at a very critical time. This is a healthy process. This is something that my administration can handle. I'm not intimidated by voices from individuals who are city leaders in their own respect. So this is a good thing for Chicago. It's a new process. People will learn to adjust to it as we continue to move forward.
So we've been listening to Mayor Johnson after the City Council voted unanimously against his $300 million property tax hike. The mayor calling himself the collaborator-in-chief, saying this is just the beginning of the process and now it's time to look at different ways to tackle the city's budget deficit. Also saying earlier this week that he never had any intention of trying to pass that property tax, that he was just trying to get people's attention, and now that he has their attention, it's time to work through this. A lot of people saying, though, this was a flagrant vote against the mayor and what he's been doing.
Yeah, largely symbolic. And you mentioned they're looking at other ways now to address this budget. Some of those could be smaller taxes or smaller fees on things many of us use every day, like streaming services, alcohol, garbage collection as well. But a budget has to be passed by December 31st, so they got to get back to the drawing board,
Yeah,
if you will.
this is going to be something we're going to be focusing on very closely for the next few days and weeks.